Hello world, this is Barbie Lee, this is Shake Talk. It is a beautiful morning. You know why? Because I woke up. I know, right? Sometimes people say, seriously, you feel that happy every morning? I kind of do. You know, sometimes the crap from yesterday kind of shows up in my brain, but I told you about my morning practices, right? I get up, I see the word gratitude, so I work on my gratitudes. Sometimes I listen to Michael Beckwith in the morning, and that's what I did this morning, because that really helps to get me on a different vibration easily first thing in the morning. You know, sometimes first thing in the morning, I don't want to do the work, right? I don't want to think for myself. So I put on somebody who's a really great thinker and helps me think in the way I want to think, and then I can just relax into it. So just so you know, you don't always have to, come up with everything yourself. You can totally have somebody help you get into the vibration in the space that you need to be in. So, hello world, this is Barbie Lee, this is Shake Talk. And it is always brought to you by my Isagenix Isoline Chocolate Mint Shake. And yesterday, I had a mixture of a vanilla chai with chocolate. It was so good. The dairy-free kind. Oh, I got something on my arm. So the dairy-free kind, so it was really good. So today's topic of conversation is, are you thinking or just remembering? Now, yesterday, when people were on, they were making comments, but I didn't get to see them. So, I don't know why. Oh, sorry, my finger went right in front of my camera. So I'm trying to, I don't know how to, oh, maybe that. Okay, let's try that. So if you're here, say something, because now I have a little bar that says comments will appear here. So maybe something will actually appear today. Yesterday, nothing appeared, and, people made comments. So I apologize. I have to use my phone. I used to be able to use my computer, but now Facebook has some sort of, I don't know, it's just horrible. It's all grainy when I use my computer. So, I don't know. Anyway, here I am. So the topic of conversation today is, are you thinking or just remembering? And there's this beautiful line in Alice in Wonderland and the Queen of Hearts. And if you ever just search quotes, Queen of Hearts, Alice in Wonderland, you'll get some really great quotes. But she talks about the memory is a terrible thing if it only goes backwards, right? Because she had asked some question about, well, what do you remember about tomorrow? And Alice is like, well, I do not remember tomorrow. Tomorrow hasn't come. And she's like, oh, what a terrible thing that a memory only goes backwards. And I taught my students years ago that memorization, right, for future use comes from the word memory. I know, blows your mind, right? So if we're only remembering, meaning doing it again, and not using our memory to move forward, to use the memorization skills that we hated, right? My students, oh, Mrs. Hemmings, why do I have to memorize the multiplication table? I said, because later in life, then you don't have to think. Fine, Or, why do we have to do all these drills and practices in basketball? I said, because later then you don't have to think. You just remember, right? It just comes back naturally. And that's why we do the work. I know it all is connected. So it's very, very cool. Okay. So are you thinking or just remembering? It's a good question. I've been doing a lot of thinking forward, projecting, looking at my progress. It's a time of my life. So I've got one kid, she's almost like she's going to be married here in October. The other one has her lifestyle of, well, currently she's in Indonesia, and she might come home, if the countries open up again, so she might come home in September to fly, and then she wants to take off again in November. So I'm kind of done being that mom, right? I don't need to be here and whatever. So this is that empty nest thing, right? So now what, right? Now what's for me? So Dwayne and I have been doing a lot of talking about what we want, how are we moving forward, where are we going, what do we want to do with our lives, right? And that's thinking, right? And we're talking about plans and what if this and what if that, and I'm feeling this pull, this calling, this sometimes even a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of FOMO, like, come on, Barbie Lee, get it together, right? Like this is your life, don't waste it, right? You are into this greater and ever fuller expansion, so what are you going to expand into now? And then I take a breath and I go, oh, but I'm not there yet. And then yesterday happens, and And then I take a breath and I'm like, okay, you know, think forward, start memorizing, right? So I thought about this morning. So years ago, one of my coaches had me write out like my ideal house, or, make my ideal dream home. Okay. So still to this day, I see this house that I created in my mind's eye, kind of up on a cliff, where on one side of the house I could see the sun rise coming up, maybe over the mountains or over the ocean. And then the other side, I could watch the sunset go down on the ocean. For sure, the sunset was on the ocean, but the other side, it kind of fluctuated between, maybe it was mountains or maybe it was ocean. It didn't really matter to me. And then I was thinking, oh, it must have to be on a cliff on a tiny island so I can see both sides of the island. That's what I was thinking. Anyway, and then I could push a button and the ceiling would open up, right? It would allow me to stargaze, and I would have, I would have all these, I had a family that would live there when I didn't live there. And then they would take care of me when we did come and visit there. Right? And then, of course, I had this dream of, this thought. It was like, because Taylor Ray was part of, the planning, and we had the family all in on it. And she's like, Mom, could we have a helicopter come and take us to the Hannah Montana concert? It tells you how long ago that was. And I said, sure. So anyways, that's part of it. Anyhow, I was thinking about that this morning, about this house with this 360-degree view, right, of a sunrise and a sunset with the ocean and these buttons to open the roof, whatever. Well, a couple years ago when I was in Mexico, I house sat for my friends, and they kind of had that type of house. It was on the 12th or 13th floor, whatever it was, and out of the back bedroom, I could watch the sunset, or the side of the patio, or the sunrise. I could see the sunrise over the mountain. And right out the front window we were right on the beach. And it had buttons to open all the curtains. Now, it didn't open the roof because the pool was above us. But I was like, that's pretty darn close. Like that's pretty darn close. And by the way, I didn't have to pay for it because I was house sitting. So that was fantastic. Anyhow, my point being is I thought, and I created this vision into my future, right? I started memorizing what I wanted to see in my future. And then it showed up, right? Now, it wasn't exactly as it was, but you know what? I remember having this family, and it was and I have always said, and I use the name Juan all the time, right? And I was like, oh yes, and the man's name is Juan, and he takes care of things, right? Well, I have a very good friend in Mazatlan named Juan. In the house that I was sitting in was Mazatlan. So there was a lot of really cool synchronicities, right? Oh, goody. I get to see when people are joining now. See, yesterday I didn't get to. Today I get to. I'm so excited. So make sure you say hi when you jump in. So that thinking brought me back this morning to, am I thinking or just remembering? And there's a lot of stuff going in our world right now. No one's going to argue with that. But are we thinking about it and what we can do to move forward? Or are we just remembering all the garbage and we regurgitating everything we've heard from the mainstream media? Are we just, putting back into our brains things that people have already said or some conversation we've already had? Like, I'm not interested in those kind of conversations. I'm interested in the kind of conversations that can move people forward. So, I talk about this. I'm like, well, what am I going to do? So I actually sent a email to my MLA the other day about, to appreciate her and what, this isn't an easy situation for our government to be in. And you know what? I'm not saying I agree with our government, but you know what? They're doing what they're doing. If I don't like it, I have to get involved, right? So I sent an email basically just saying, hey, like, I get it's not easy, and I get that we've made decisions based on, the data we had at the time, but now we have data, and I know you're going to make the best decision that's right for this city and this your constituency and the province and the country, and I know that you love people and you love your community, and you're going to put it above all else. And the people here and how we're surviving, and I just made this email about offering her the opportunity to do what's right for the people and not be, feel like she's being bombarded with, oh my God, you've done this and you've done this. And because people don't need any more bashing. Like, they really don't. People need kindness, and we don't know what kind of kindness they need. We really don't, unless it's like blatant in our face and someone screaming, whatever. But people need kindness. So are you thinking about kindness? Are you remembering all the other crap and you're living your own little world that's just keeping you small and playing small and not living and expanding into this life that you've been given? You know what I mean? Does that make sense? So I was thinking this morning, and my shake talk yesterday, I was telling you I was feeling weird. I woke up this morning feeling a little bit lighter, and that's what I love about sleep. I go to bed with an intention, right? So before I go to bed, I'm thinking about how I want my life to look, right? And I'm not talking about all the minute details. I'm talking about feeling alive, alert, awake, enthusiastic. I sang a little song for you yesterday. But I'm looking at, what do I want from this life? Because I don't know when I'm going to die, right? Nobody does. We can say, I always say I'm going to live to 123. So sure, let's live to 103. But in truth of it, we saw that by the actions of last week, we don't know when somebody or something happens that we lose our life. So I want to make sure that I wake up every morning. And when I do wake up in the morning, that I have a purpose for that life. Right? I'm not just wasting it. I'm not sitting around picking my nose, bitching and complaining because this happened or this happened. I'm like, so what is mine to do here? What can I do about it? And which you are, because you're watching my Shake Talk, and I'm all about quality of life. And quality of life means so much to so many. I watched a Jimmy Kimmel piece yesterday, and he had a very somber piece about what he understands white privilege to be. And it was interesting because, the way he said it was just a matter of fact. And I'm like, okay, I'll think about that. I'll work with that. But he talked about, having white privilege didn't mean you didn't grow up having problems. It just meant you didn't have to worry about how you were treated based on the color of your skin. That was never a thought. And it was interesting because it brought up a conversation I had with a male friend of mine in Mexico, and he was like, oh, well, just meet me over here. And it was like 8 o'clock at night. And I said, no, you're coming to where I am. And he said, Barbie Lee, I'm 3 blocks away. I said, that's right. Get your ass off this bar stool and come and meet me. I'm not walking down these streets by myself. He goes, what the heck is your problem? I said, shut up, you're a guy. You don't understand that a woman does not walk down the road in an unfamiliar community by herself in the dark. And he goes, oh my God. And I said, come and get me. So he did come and get me. And then I explained to him in those 3 blocks, all the nooks and crannies that I would be aware of as a woman walking down the street. And he just never knew before. So I love the awakening that people have to what they never knew before. And that's what I'm taking from this horrible situation from this last week, okay? But he got me thinking again about quality of life. And it keeps coming up to me, quality of life, quality of life. Geez, no wonder I named my business Quality of Life Assurance, right? How do you assure the quality of life when you wake up and you live your life? Like that, and just so you know, I'm not talking to you. I'm looking at me in the camera. And I'm like, wake up, Barbie Lee, and live your life. This is your time. This is the only time you are given in this physical existence. And you might believe in, reincarnation and you come back as something. That's great. But right now, as Barbie Lee, this is what I've got, right? This is what I've got to work with. And I'm like, okay, so let's do this, right? You all know how much I love my Isagenix, right? I love my network marketing business. I love the lifestyle. I love the opportunity that it's given me for a community, for me to allow me to think. I told you yesterday, food, the right kind of food that feeds your body gives you the power to think. It really does. And when you feed your body junk, you think junk. And when you feed your body crap, you feel like crap. And I just don't do that. Now, once in a while I do, right? Now I keep saying poutine. I keep talking about poutine, but I haven't had poutine. I have not had poutine in I don't know how long. Obviously, I really need to have some poutine, but the restaurant that I wonder if they are open. Oh, I should look that up. Anyway, it's okay once in a while. But yesterday, I took my friend out, it was her birthday, and we went and we had, I had a brownie and ice cream, and I came home last night, and about 3 hours after, I went into a sugar crash coma. And I started yawning, and I felt like crap, and I hated every second of it, but I loved my brownie. Okay, but today I'm back on track. I talk about quality of life all the time. You know my 5 words, my new 5 F words: food, finances, fun, faith, fitness, right? Those are, to me, that's how you give life a high five, right? Get it? High five: food, fitness, faith, fun, finance. High five your life. If you're not taking care of those 5 areas, and Barbie Lee, I'm speaking to you and anybody who needs to hear this right now, but Barbie Lee, if you're not taking care of those 5 areas in your life, it's not your life. You're living somebody else's life. Somebody else is telling you what to think. Somebody else is telling you what to do. Somebody else is telling you how to act and react. And I want to take back my life. I want to remind myself. I want to remember who I am and what I'm here on this planet doing. And to me, that's all about quality of life. So I have my Facebook group, and I woke up this morning going, I've stepped back from my Facebook group, and I apologize to, I don't know, I think we have like 80 people in the Facebook group, and I'm so excited, and I'm going to start growing the Facebook group because I want to surround myself. Right now we're a little bit limited in what we can do or where we go, and it's not because like we're physically limited, whatever, but our mental, we're still really scared. A lot of people are still really scared about hanging out with other people. So great, I'm going to go to Facebook, and we'll take it to Facebook. And so I have my Facebook group, the Quality of Life Assurance, and that's where I'm going to show up now and outside, and that's one of the places I'm going to show up. So if you want to be a part of it, let me know. I will add you to the group, because that's a private group. You just can't just get into it. Yeah, so I feel a lot better today. I needed to have the weirdness yesterday so I could feel the wowness of today, because, there's that expression, you can't recognize the light if there's no darkness. You can't understand real happiness without sadness. And so I couldn't really feel the wow today without having some weird yesterday. So stay tuned, my friends. It's going to be a phenomenal ride. I would love for you to join me.